Hello, golden beings. Today we are going to get raw, vulnerable, and real. And in this episode, I am going to be with Gia. I'm not going to channel any entities, any beings. No, I'm going to talk from my human consciousness. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm very grateful to have your presence on my platform here, Opulence with Gia. If you don't know what I do and who I am a clear channel for Mother Agua and the Marcadians. And if you want to connect with me further and work with me one-on-one, the website and all my social media handles are linked below in the description box. And of course, I always welcome DMs on Instagram too if this provokes any kind of questions or thoughts. I thought a lot before I jumped on to record this and post this to be on the digital platform forever in the public eye. Because I'm going to discuss today how I thrived in a toxic household. Yes, as I'm speaking, as you can tell if you're watching this on YouTube, I have no background, no green screen up. I'm sitting in my bedroom on the floor, leaning against my bed as I speak to you because I wanted to make this as raw and vulnerable and real as it can be. And I want you to know and see who I really am. And this is where I sleep and download and channel and cry and dance. This is my sanctuary. What I'm trying to say is my bedroom is really my sanctuary. And as we go deeper into my story, you will know why. You will know why I exist in my bedroom and why I stay in my bedroom 99.9% of the time. Now, everything I'm going to say, I just want to be very, very, very clear. I am not bashing anybody. I don't hate anybody. I am simply discussing my experience and I'm going to share my lessons and my learnings in order to support you if you are resonating with this. Because as an immigrant child, and now both my parents are from India, Punjab, I'm South Asian myself, and I'm very proud of that. And that came with a lot of challenges. And I'm sure a lot of, first generation children who have immigrant parents can relate. Um, yes. So I don't know where to start. Like my story is so not linear and there's just so many crazy events, but I'm going to try to keep this clear and in order as possible. So I was born to my two beautiful parents, Gyan and Baljeet, who I still live with, by the way. I still live with my parents, my brother, and his beautiful wife, my Pavi. So we are a household of 5 members. And it's going to make sense why I'm still here. Even though I said I thrived in a toxic household, it's going to make sense. So, of course, I was born here in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I realized at the age of like 4 that these people, the family I had come into was just batshit crazy. They were just not bad humans, no, not bad people, but they just did not know the customs, the way of living in Canada. Like it was very new to them. And I was being raised in a very Bandu way, which means village way. Like I was that little girl that my mom actually sewed me Indian outfits at home, like langas, kagras, salwar kameez, and I used to wear that to school with 2 oily braids. And even on picture day, up to I think grade 3 or 4, all my pictures are in Indian outfits. And they only stopped when I started fighting my mom. When I said, no, I'm not going to wear, like, no, I want to be like the white girls, right? Like, I want to fit in, like, put me in a jeans and a t-shirt for heaven's sake. Like, stop putting me in these over elaborated lenge. I kid you not. Oh my gosh. I think there's a picture from grade 2 where I'm wearing a red lenga and I look like a bride. for picture day. I have a bindi on and everything, girl. But anyhow, so there was always that friction there, and there still is, right? Because our way of being here on this land in this country is very different, and something my parents are just not accustomed. Till date, I'm still navigating this, right? Because as you grow up, your chapters of your life change, phases change, things come up. But I'll rewind back. So I'm 4 years old and I don't know anything about the world, right? I'm freaking four. I'm all loosey goosey, whatever, right? I'm a kid. But here's the thing. I'm not just a kid. I'm the kid that went up to random aunts and uncles and people on the street, the neighbors and my parents, and told them random things that were very true, such as you look like the color purple. I can see your mom behind you. Who's that in your living room? I could, like, I'm always in clairvoyant. So I could see everyone's auras. I could see where energy was stuck in their body, what organ was depleting. I could see their past relatives. I could see. And people would just laugh at me, think, oh, I'm a kid, wild imagination, ha ha ha. And they'll just push me away all the time. But my mother, she knew I was psychic. She picked up on it because things I was saying was not normal. Because we would be in a car and we'd be driving somewhere. And my brother was the same way, by the way, highly intuitive, highly. I could, when we're driving on the road, I could tell you who was sitting and where they came from and what their story was in every car that was on the road with us. I could tell who was driving that car and what their story was. I just knew it. I've always been psychic. Always. My mom picked that up. And my mom is also very intuitive. She comes from, I'll do another whole video on the lineage gifts because my gifts are from my lineage and they come from my mother's side. My mom is also very intuitive, very psychic, Reiki master, all of that. My mom picking up on that, she started asking me questions like, Gia, when do you think we'll move into our new house? She started telling people, oh, whatever Gia says comes true. So my aunts and uncles would call us and be like, put Gia on the phone. I'm four, by the way. I'm 4 years old. And they would ask me questions like, oh, do you think my daughter will come to Canada? Do you think her visa will come? I'm four. What's a visa? I don't have any awareness, right? But again, I was a child of an immigrant and my dad did not speak a word of English. So I was also their translator. So, funny fact, by the age of like 5 or 6, I knew exactly the process of getting into the country because I had gone to so many lawyers' offices, doctors' offices, the post, everywhere with my parents, and I was their translator. So, by the age of 5, I spoke 3 languages fluently: English, Punjabi, and Hindi. Yes. And I'm sure many immigrant children can relate to being translators for their parents. I was literally pulled out of school sometimes to go translate. Anyways, that's the beginning part, my mom realized, and that added a lot of pressure on me because I'm four, and all of a sudden people are looking at me, these adults, these freaking adults, are starting to treat me like an adult. I'm no longer a child now. I can't play like I would. Obviously, I had a lot of park time and I did have a very blessed childhood, but I was never viewed as a child. I was always viewed as an adult. I don't know why people looked at me like that. Maybe they read I was an old soul. I don't know. Even at, when we'd go downstairs, because we live in an apartment building, all the aunties, like, keep in mind, their kids are my age or older. They'd be like, oh, we're going to go for a walk. Watch our kids. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why. Adults treated me like adults. They never saw me as a child. And that really traumatized me because they felt so comfortable in my presence that they actually would share very intimate details about their lives with me, like, oh, how they're fighting with their husband, and even to the extent of their sex life. Oh, yeah. It was that deep. The conversations were that deep. Now, they weren't happening when I was four. They were happening maybe I was 8 or 9 or 10. But people just felt like I always knew everything. And they just felt like they had to share things with me. And also, my first 8 years of my life, I grew up in the projects. My parents were still making it in the country. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment, and at one point, we had 9 people living with us because my mom's family had immigrated as well when I was 4 years old. So my grandma, my mom's parents, brother and sister had come from India as well, and they were living for us for about a year. One bathroom, one kitchen, one bedroom, one living room, 9 people. You can imagine the trauma. Yeah. Why am I saying trauma? It's because nobody slept. There was too much noise, and my mom's family's really loud Pandu, and Pandu means like village, like desi, and I mean this in a positive way, but they were just very loud and they didn't understand any boundaries. They had no privacy manners, like none of that. Again, they're new to the country. They just didn't know, right? We didn't sleep because someone was working a day shift, someone was working an afternoon shift, someone was working nights, someone was cooking, someone like people were like doing their own thing all the time without considering anyone else. And also many times like the families didn't get along. So like me, my brother, children, we'd wake up to massive family arguments every morning before school. So my head constantly hurt. And my dad was very strict when we were growing up, like very, very strict. I wasn't allowed sleeveless. I wasn't allowed to hang out with friends. I wasn't allowed sleepovers. My parents, like my dad kept a very close call. And also he had military discipline. Like you had to wake up when he said you had to wake up. You had to eat when he said you had to eat. You had to eat what he said you had to eat. And I don't know why I was like overfed as a kid. Like my dad would overfeed me because in the Indian culture, they believe the more you eat, the more strength you have. And it was just not, it was very uncomfortable. And of course, as an adult, that transferred as a lot of food problem, like binge eating, emotional eating, because I was like literally force fed as like a kid. Finally got that under control now, but my dad believed that. And that was again, like, because your body keeps score, your body remembers, right? So my parents had that really desi way. And also, my parents are in arranged marriage. And I know this is getting very deep, raw, and vulnerable, but I'm giving you a major insight into my life and how I grew up because I feel like these things are never spoken out loud and there's so much taboo. And it's not to make anyone feel bad or guilty, but this is an experience. It's honestly an experience. I feel like it needs to be shared. Anyways, going back to my topic, my parents are in arranged marriage. In arranged marriages, it's like a business deal. There's no love, right? My mom needed to escape poverty so she could help her 6 siblings because there's 7 siblings. So she married into Canada. She married Canada when she married my dad. She didn't marry my dad. Gonna call it out, okay? Call it out. That's how these deals were done back in 80s and the 90s. Uh, you married to improve your life and whatever, right? Whatever that deal was. So my mom married my dad so she could escape the country, come into Canada, work, send money back home, and then call her parents here so they could escape and break the poverty. Okay, physically they did that. That was great. But what about the mindset, right? And when my mom's parents came to live with us, they bought all that poverty mindset and all that greed mindset, that competition, all those toxic traits, unfortunately, that you would see in a family member, they bought all of them. I mean, I like all these horrifying things were said to me at, like from the age of like 4 or 5 years old. Like adults would tell me, I feel like I'm gonna really like blow this apart if I say this online publicly, but there was just so much mental abuse on me and my brother, and not by my parents, by like extended relatives. And for some reason, me and my brother were used like puppets. They always like they would tell us like we would go see people and they would tell us all these bad stories about our parents and other relatives from the other side. So if we went to my mom's side would try to brainwash us against my dad's side. If we went to my dad's side, they would try to brainwash us against my mom's side. And then when we came home, my parents, again, arranged marriage, there's no love. It's just a compromise or whatever you want to call it. They would do the same thing. My mom would say better things. She would try to highlight her image in front of us, and my dad would try to highlight his image in front of us. So we would like them more versus the other parent. So basically, they constantly, everywhere we went, me and my brother, like we were basically like we had to pick a side. We weren't being treated as children. We were being treated as adults. And all these awful things were being put into my head constantly. Constantly. And when I turned 7 years old, 7, I'm like, fuck this shit. Fuck it. These people all hate each other. My dad doesn't like my mom. My mom doesn't like my dad. My dad's side doesn't like my mom's side. My mom's side doesn't like my dad's side. So you know what? Fuck these people. Fuck them. But I was 7. I remember I was 7. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I cut all my t-shirts into sleeveless because I knew it would piss my dad off because he didn't want that Canadian culture influence on me, even though I'm Canadian. Make it make sense. I don't know. I started wear booty shorts. I started to talk the way I wanted to talk. I started to do things on my own terms. And my parents were freaking the F out. I started talking back. I just said whatever was on my mind. And again, keep in mind, I was a psychic. I could pick up on thoughts of people and I wasn't aware at that time. Obviously, I am aware now. And I look back, I was like, yeah, like I felt emotionally so depleted all the time as a child because of the environments I was placed in. These people were sucking my soul out, literally, with their family drama, with them wanting, like, it was just annoying. I started to live my life and I literally made an agreement with myself that I'm only going to listen to me. I can't listen to these people. Sorry, I'm starting to feel that range. So I'm starting to lose a bit of my voice. Yeah, because I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I literally am not going to be a puppet for mom or dad, for dad's side or mom. I don't care. Whatever this family drama is going on. I don't have fucking time for this shit. So I started to vocalize a lot. And as I became a teenager, it got worse. It got worse. And many of you don't know this, but when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And it was a very bad diagnosis because obviously I was sick for a very long time and no doctor could figure out what was wrong with me. They just kept telling me I have a stomach flu because I was vomiting everything I was eating. And God bless my parents for this because they were doing their best, right? Like if your doctor says your kid has a stomach flu, you're going to give it Pedialyte, 7-Up, like you're going to try to treat them. That's exactly what my parents did. And then I'm a New Year's Eve baby. I'm December 31st. They celebrated my 9th birthday on that day with family over and stuff. And I was so thirsty all the time, which is a symptom of diabetes, actually, of high, very, very high blood sugar levels. I drank the entire bottle of Coke at my birthday party. And again, no adult is watching me. I don't know what that was. Adults just thought they could just leave me and I'd be fine. I don't know. Again, I don't know what they were picking up, whatever that was. I never woke up the next morning. Jan 1st, first day as a 9-year-old, I didn't wake up. I was in a coma. I was in a coma. They had to call 911 and pick me up and put me in and whatever. I woke up and again, I'm 9 years old, right? I couldn't walk. I actually had forgotten how to walk. I'd forgotten how to swallow. I forgot a lot of things, right? like how to function in my body because my mind was just so like I was depleted because I'd been sick for very like 6 months, I think 6 to 7 months leading up to that point. When I was diagnosed, first of all, it took them 2 weeks to figure out what was wrong with me because my body was so malnourished, they couldn't take blood out because my veins were just they had thinned out. There was no blood. I was dehydrated. They had to put so much like water back in my body. And it took 2 weeks to fully diagnose me. And when it came out with type 1 diabetes and whatever, my parents lost their shit. They cried. And now when I look back, like their reaction was so inappropriate. Again, I'm not blaming them because they don't know anything. They don't know better. They think they're doing the best. And they were. To their awareness, they totally were. They literally like my mom, even when I was discharged from the hospital, she would just lay because obviously, like, she wanted to sleep with me because to monitor my sugar levels. Because there was a schedule I was on. So she had to give me insulin, she had to like check my blood sugar levels, and she had to monitor me really closely. And I was very weak. Like I actually kind of needed help to go to the bathroom and stuff. I couldn't lift my body. She would lay next to me and cry all night long and tell me all these awful things. Like, oh, no one's gonna marry you. You're broken. You're gonna die. I didn't know kids could have diabetes. Now all your organs are going to slowly shut down. You're gonna die. No one's gonna marry you. I'm fucking 9. You think marriage is on my mind? I was thinking, when am I gonna go back to school? When can I play? Can I eat Jello? Those were my questions. I was like, oh my God, can I never eat chocolate again? Like I had very child questions, right? And she would just lay next to me, crying and tell me all this stuff. And obviously, me being a psychic and very open, I'm absorbing everything like a sponge. Everything. So then, obviously, for the first like year, almost 8 months to like a year, I was like, my mom was doing everything for me, right? Because I had to catch up on my strength, I had to rebuild and whatever, right? Oh, yeah. And when I was diagnosed, I don't know why, my dad thought it was a great idea to personally call up every fucking relative and tell him that I have type 1 diabetes. I don't know why he broadcasted it to the entire planet. So when I came back home, when I was discharged, every relative came to see me like I was dying. You know when they come from, like they come to your house for upsos after like a funeral, like to console you and, you know, to help you support you through grief. People were fucking grieving me. I was alive. I was 9 years old. It was so awkward. It was so freaking weird. It was so inappropriate. I was 9. First of all, I didn't even know what clearly I didn't know what my life was gonna look like. I didn't even know I was on insulin because at a hospital they always give you needles, and I just thought they were giving me needles. I didn't know this was gonna be for the rest of my life. I didn't know that. Sort of explaining to me what diabetes is, how to take care of my body, and it's okay. Give me words of encouragement. People would fucking come over. People would come over. Oh my God. People would come over and make me feel like I'm dying. You have diabetes? How? How many times a day do you take insulin? Can you have babies now that you have diabetes? I don't think so. Oh, can you get your period? Does it affect your hormone? These were the things people were fucking saying to me. My parents were allowing it. And in fact, they were getting panicked. Like, oh, she's gonna have a baby now? I'm a baby. Oh my goodness. I am a baby. Again, all these things were imprinting on me. I was being forced to think these things by people. All this shit was brought into my awareness for no fucking reason. None of it's true. And they had me in panic mode. And they were in panic mode. Anywho, a year later, when I had my strength and I got a bit of clarity, I went back to school, had a normal routine, whatever. I decided I'm just never going to tell them anything and I'm not going to share anything with anybody anymore. Because what happened was when I started attending social events like weddings, parties, and dinners at people's houses, they would fucking make a circle around me and be like, "How's your diabetes now? Are you still taking insulin?" In the beginning, I don't know what to say, and my parents would answer for me and they would say whatever they said. A year into it, I was like, I'm gonna start lying to people and I'm gonna start telling them I'm cured. I don't have diabetes. I don't take insulin. Get the fuck out of my face. This was my annoyance. But again, I found my voice. I found my voice and I said no. And this, I'm getting somewhere, I promise you. I'm just not shitting my life story out here. Literally, I would have these old fucking grandmas come out of me in a banquet hall parties and be like, I heard your body's not working. I heard you take insulin. How many times a day do you take that needle? I started turning around and I said, how many pills a day do you take, bitch? Literally, that was my tone. And excuse my language here, but that was just my emotion and tone. I would be like, how many pills do you take? And they'd be like, huh? Huh? And then it became, oh my goodness, Gyan's daughter has a big mouth. That's when it started because I had to talk back to relatives now. I had to be like, F off. I had to be like, no, I'm not answering your question. I don't know who you are. I had to say that to people. All this trauma and experience was just building my core strength to hold boundaries. I had lost all fear of authority. By the age of 10, I lost all fear. I didn't care if you were my parent. I didn't care if you were a cop. I didn't care how fucking old you were. I was like, you know what? If you're not going to respect me and you're going to make me feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to talk to you. Nobody told me this. Nobody provided guidance. I had to decide all this. I had to figure this out. And how I got this inspiration was by watching other people. I watched a lot of, like, I watched Tyra Banks a lot of growing up, and she's a very vocal woman. I watched a lot of celebrities and I saw how they were managing their lives and what they were doing. And I started to implement that because the TV I was watching actually really became a tool for me. I was like, how are these women so confident? How are these women able to live their life like this? And nobody talks shit to them. And then I realized it's because they don't let them. They don't let anybody confront them or talk shit to them or say anything. They just don't allow it. So I'm not going to allow it. I started putting up boundaries at the age of freaking 10. Then I became a teenager and then it got worse. And then my family was like, oh, your friends are stupid. Your friends are crazy. They're doing a bad influence on you. Don't hang out with them. You're not allowed to go to the movies. You're not allowed to wear this outfit, blah, 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 blah. So I turned 15. I said, okay, what's the missing component here? It's money. I have to ask them permission because I need them to fund me for movies and, whatever I desire. So I said, screw it. I'm going to go get a job. I went and got a job. I babysat. I did a lot of odd jobs. I babysat. I worked at Tim's for a little bit, Tim Hortons. And then eventually I got a job at a walk-in clinic at a doctor's office, which I worked there for 2 years as a receptionist and clinical support. And also, a lot of people don't know this about me. Since I'm a December baby, I had to legally be in school until I finished the term or by the age of 18 or whatever. But I actually did so many night classes and summer schools. By the time I was 16, like the end of grade 11, I had actually completed all of my high school credits and my community hours. I did not have any need to be in school. So what they did was all of my grade 12 year, I did paid co-op at this walk-in clinic by my house. So I actually worked my grade 12 career. I only had two classes, which I think were so soft. I think one was something to do with computers. I think it was, I don't know, business IT or something. And the other was like art. And the only reason why I had to keep those two classes was because legally I had to be in school. That's it. So every morning I would go to school, I would do my two periods, and then I would go to the clinic. And I'd work there Monday to Friday. And I was paid. It was considered co-op for me. I did that. So I actually fast-tracked all of my schooling and I was done high school by the age of 16. But I was considered academically weak because I was not a straight A student. I was like a B minus C plus student because I didn't care for academics. I was very bored in class and I hated it. I hated the conformity. I hated the fact that like I had to be there at like 8 a.m. every morning and I had to listen. I hated authority. I just did not like authority on me at all. And I used to daydream about going into university or college because I'm like, I'll finally have freedom. I'll finally be treated like an adult and not like a little child. Anyways, I graduated on time. Everything happened. It wrapped up. It was great, right? Still fighting my parents, having really petty, just teenager stuff, right? But when I started making my money at 15 at Tim's and blah, blah, until the age of 16, I started working doctor's office. My parents had no control over me, like zero power, because I would not ask them anything because I knew at that point, if you were to ask them, the answer is no. So just tell them. Tell them last minute and walk out the door. Because the reality is, and this is my 16-year-old brain, they're going to be mad. They're always mad. When are the parents not mad at a teenager? They're always mad. I wore like a red lipstick, my mom got mad. I wore lip gloss, my mom got mad. I put my hair down, my mom, like whatever. Like people were always mad, right? So I'm like, screw it. You've decided to always be mad at my decisions. So I'm gonna go and do whatever I want to do because the result is the same. It's not holding me back. So I would literally just tell them, hey, I'm going to my friend's house, walk out of the house. Hey, I'm going to go to a rave, walk out of the house. I had cut a need for a parent. Well, not 100%. Obviously, I needed shelter and food and whatever they were providing for me. But I did not need to depend on them for my desires. And they understood that. And of course, I had found my vocal cords at the age of 7. So I was talking back, which again, I'm not promoting and highlighting. I'll get to that point. But yes. So I was fully independent by the age of 16. And if I really wanted to, I could have moved out. I was working full time. I had a full-time job. I went through my schooling and everything. And I had a lot of toxic friends, of course, that I am so grateful for that the pandemic took care of me, took care of them for me. Because in the pandemic, they became very crystal clear for me on who's supporting me and who's not. So I deleted a lot of friends and I was alone for a very long time. I was alone for about 2 years. I had no friends. I had acquaintances. I had people I'd go hang out with, grab teas, and I was still social, but I didn't really have friends until now, until last year. 2023 was a great year for me. I collaborated with so many beings. I met so many cool people. I had made magical friendships happen for myself. And it was just an amazing year for me. But how I thrived in the household that I was being raised in by all this family drama and this extra noise and my parents' ways of being was I really held my boundary. I did not conform. I just decided I don't care how you feel. This is how I feel. And this is not to be selfish, but it was simply because I had to really vocalize. And in that vocalizing, I tried to explain why I was doing what I was doing. And I gave my parents literally, I said this to my parents. I said, hey, I'm never going to lie to you. I'm always going to be honest with you. But if you're going to make my life difficult, I will lie to you. And if you want to hear lies out of my mouth, you can continue your behavior. They were like, look how she's speaking to us. I'm like, yes, I'm being honest to you. I'm like, do you want me to lie to you and say, no, mommy, it's okay. I won't go to, this birthday party. It's okay. And then sneak out. I'm like, do you want that? Because I can do that. And they're like, no, we won't know where you are. I'm like, exactly. So I'm like, change your fucking tone. I'm sorry. I know this sounds really harsh and serious, but this is how I was at 16. And also, my mom would tell me all the time that no one's going to marry me because I always say the F word. Behold, I literally got married into a family, well, engaged for now, into a family that literally cannot complete a sentence without saying banjot. I swore, they swear, happy couple. We're all good. But jokes aside, um, I was very vocal and I held my force. I did not care. I'm like, okay, what are they gonna do? Beat me up, throw me out of the house, be mad? That's already happening. They're already mad. These people are already mad. I can't make them unmad. They've decided to be mad. So I'm gonna tell them my boundaries. I vocalized them. Like I sat them down exactly the previous example. And I also started to visualize myself as a black sheep. I just started to visualize myself like, okay, I don't agree with my family members. So I do not need to conform and be on board with them with everything. And yes, I used energy techniques when I gained that awareness, which was by the age of 20. So I would visualize myself energetically as well in a white bubble when I walked around my house, and I visualized my family members in different bubbles. Like they're not a part of me. I'm not a part of them. They're different beings from a different country with a different mindset. I love them. They gave birth to me. They brought me here. And to an extent, I have to give my parents props. I do, because it was probably so difficult for them to raise me. Because where they came from, kids did not talk back. And there I was. They didn't know how to handle me or what to do with me. But I set really good boundaries. And even now, the reason why my bedroom is my sanctuary is because this is how I created my entire business and my financial freedom. I just decided that I'm different. I'm okay with that. So I need to build a different life. I can't relive my parents' life. I can't run on the script that they are writing for themselves. I cannot do this. I don't care for any of these traditions, these mindsets and beliefs. They don't belong to me. They belong to them. And this stops right now. I have a better awareness. I was raised in a evolutionary time. I was raised in a different land with different societies, different things, and I don't relate to my parents. I just called out the facts to myself. Was this difficult? Yeah, it was. It was very difficult because, of course, you want to fit in. You want your parents to love you. You want your parents, you want to get along with them. You want to be able to go sit down and watch TV with them, but they want to watch what they want to watch, right? And I also get very overly stimulated. So I don't like to watch a lot of TV or have a lot of noise. And as you can tell in my bedroom, all the walls are blank. It's literally my bed and I have two nightstands here and that's it. It's because I need that spaciness, that emptiness, and that clarity so I can think. And I love being alone. I love being with myself. So I decided that I'm going to create a routine, and I start to visualize my life at 17. 17, 18, I realized this, that I can never please my parents, and that's okay, because I'm just very different. Because I was brought up in a different country, right? To nobody's fault. And I started to build that life in my bedroom. I started to I started learning holistic nutrition. I started learning Reiki. I did all of this, and I did not, until date, my parents actually don't know what I do for a living. I have not told them. And I don't know if that time will ever come, just because my parents do not have the capacity to understand this. Yes, my mom is highly intuitive, highly aware. But again, there are some hesitations here because this is very non-conventional, right? So till date, my parents don't know what I've created, and they don't know what I do, and they don't know who I am. And I'm very comfortable with that. Just because their capacity is not to celebrate me, but it's to judge me. So I don't enjoy their judgments. I don't care for that. So I simply just hold my boundaries and I just stay in my sanctuary here. and I create. I create. I have done everything from my bedroom, everything. And I've held really strong boundaries to the point where even now, in my late 20s, when my parents come and approach me with something, they're very, very mindful. They're very mindful. They always, because the thing is, they know I won't hold back. And I'm not always loud and abrupt. Like I do have gentle conversations, but communication has been my key. No matter how it was being received, no matter how they were molding it in their heads, and what it was causing on the surface level, which is disturbance and chaos, I let it rip. I let it rip. I said, you know what? No, thank you. And if we need to go into an argument to agree to disagree, then it shall be that. But I am not going to allow you to fog me up with stuff that I don't care about. And I keep a very good distance. And this is not just with family, this is with people too. But the reason why I'm saying family is because you can't exactly ditch your family or escape your family in most scenarios, right? Like I still live with them and I cherish them. I love them. We have great moments together, but I do have a boundary. I don't let them, I will stop them. I tell them immediately. They actually know by now, so they don't bring it up, but I don't let them talk to me about their village drama. I don't let them talk to me about other relatives. I don't allow them to speak to me about what's happening in anyone else's life. I'm like, you can only speak to me things that are happening in your life about you, not someone else involved, or the present moment, or the future plan. I'm not gossiping with you. Because parents want to do that. They want to involve us in all their drama. And I'm like, I don't have time. Sorry. I don't care what your sister did to you like 20 years ago. I really don't give a shit. And I still need to remind them sometimes, hey, I'm your child. Please treat me like a child. This discussion is highly inappropriate. I'm not here to manage your stress for you. I say these things. I don't just think them, I say them. And this is why I've created a pristine standard and condition of thriving. Because now, not only family members, extended family members, freaking villagers, my like even friends, like people I allowed in my life, which I love so much because I don't need to explain myself to them anymore. They just get it. But anyone, they understand what they can bring to me and what they can bring to me because I vocalized it. I say things like, this is highly inappropriate. Why did you think this was good to bring up to me? I'm like, do you know what this is? This is you gossiping. And that's a terrible trait to have. I say these things to people, and I don't care how old you are. I don't care who the fuck you are. You're wrong, you're wrong. And I'm also thriving like this because I did not ditch myself to conform. Because what also happens is people say, oh, you have nothing good to say, then don't say it. You're also in that sentence. I don't like that sentence. I don't like it. Like, if nothing good to say, don't say. I understand if that's for bullying or that's for, negative thoughts that you don't want to project on someone. But honestly, if someone's hurting your feelings and you're feeling uncomfortable, you got to call it out, sis. You got to call it out. You don't have to be rude and abrupt about it. You can be very subtle and gentle. You can have your personalized approach. I had to scream and yell because if I spoke like this, like, oh, mommy G, daddy G, it would just go over their head. So I had to yell. Depends on the person you're speaking to, of course, and the environment you're in. Yeah, so they say, oh, just stay quiet. It's okay. Let it go. Don't say anything. Okay, in doing that, not saying anything, you're meeting your enemy's expectations. They want that from you. They want you not to say anything. They want you to continue with their shenanigans and their mindset and their whatever they're doing. Because if you don't say something, Indirectly, that's saying, yes, I agree with you and it's okay, I allow this. That's what your silence is saying. Silence is very, very loud. It's very loud. When you're silenced to things that you don't agree with and you take no action in, disagreeing or whatever, you're agreeing and you're allowing it to come into your vortex and your frequency and you're allowing it to imprint. That is how I've thrived my entire life, let alone the household. Let alone the household. I didn't like things that were happening around me, so I looked outside. And I continue to do this when I'm like, I don't know what to do, what's going on. I literally leave my head, I look outside for a fresh perspective. Yeah, that's just a my story of how I thrived my entire life. Vocalizing, communication, literally energetically distancing myself from people and creating that boundary and creating physical distance as well while living in the household, going out to cafes to do my work, going to a friend's house, going for walks daily to get away from the household energy and frequency because it is not uplifting and supporting me. That is all. And I hope this has empowered you. I hope this has given you encouragement to open up your vocal cords and stand up for yourself. Because I'm telling you, if I didn't do this at a young age, I would have been a whole different personality, a whole different personality. And I would have been not happy with myself at all, like at all. So allow yourself to come forward. Allow yourself to come forward in full acceptance of who you are. And the person you are disagreeing with, you can accept their disagreement as well. You can accept these toxic family members because friends, you can remove them. You can cut off friends, right? But how are you gonna, well, I guess you can cut off your mom and dad if it's really, really, really obnoxious to you. You absolutely can do that. You have full rights to do that too because you don't owe anyone anything. But if you cannot cut off someone, this is it. You draw the lines, baby. You draw the lines for them and you do not conform and you do not mold and you vocalize. They're going to receive it how they're going to receive it. You can't change anyone's lenses. They're happy with their lens. They've chosen that lens. You're not hurting their feelings. You are being you. Change that perspective right there. Well, if I say this, this will happen. Let it happen, baby. Let it rip. Let it rip. And I 100% guarantee you it won't happen. That awful outcome that you're expecting to happen if you speak up, it won't even happen because you have shifted the energetics there. You have actually shifted the outcome by speaking up. I can promise you that. So allow your vocal cords to unleash and allow yourself to come through in full acceptance and draw your boundaries and hold yourself at the standard and always visualize what life you desire, not the one that's being given to you or being handed over to you, but what do you want and how do you want to move in your body? Do you want to be like your mom? And that could be a very positive thing, right? Yeah, sure. Okay. So what are the traits you want to carry over? And what are the traits you don't want to carry over? And this is inner, very deep inner work. And people often ask me, then why did I come into this family if I have to create boundaries and I have to run away from them, blah, blah, blah. They're teaching you. Just like how my family and my parents play that divine role of unleashing my vocal cords and teaching me not to conform. That's what they taught me. They taught me do not conform and do not accept everything you hear. Do your own research. Because I had to do that. When family members trying to brainwash me, I had to fact check them. Oh, yeah, I couldn't just believe everything came out of their mouth. I had to fact check them. I had to think, I had to use my own mind. And then I had to be like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this relative because they tried to manipulate me. So that's why now, as a healer and a coach, I am so aware of manipulation energies. I'm so aware of suppression. I'm so aware on how to activate you and empower you and unleash your true, authentic self. And this is why I do the work I do now, because my parents were the divine guidance leading me here. And I'm so I'm so grateful to my parents for this. I truly am. Because if I had soft parents that let me kind of just, oh, it's okay, fluff up, I would have been really fluffy. And then I would not be able to do the work I do today and recognize the family politics, people politics, society politics, everything that I can see now very clearly is because of all the experience and the chaos I've dealt with. I think this is a lot of information, a lot of chit chat, but it's been great to get to know you, even though it's a one-way conversation. But please do like, subscribe, leave me a comment. And of course, I always welcome your DMs on Insta as well. Like I said in the beginning, everything's linked below in the description. And let me know how this made you feel. And let me know what else you want to hear from me. You know, personal life, professional life, whatever that may be. I'm sending you so much love, and I'm so grateful that you stayed for this entire chat and my life story in a glimpse. And I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.